Welcome. If this story touches your heart, subscribe to the channel. Here, we walk together. No one has to cross life alone. The traffic light always turned red at the same time. At 6:40 in the morning, while the city was still half awake, he was already there. Worn sneakers. A blue bag over his shoulder. A wooden box hanging from his neck, filled with candy, peanuts, lollipops, gum. His name was Miguel. He was 17, but his eyes carried more exhaustion than many men of 50. When the light turned red, he walked between the cars, offering sweets with a shy smile. "Good morning. Candy, ma'am? Peanuts, sir?" Some bought. Many ignored him. Others laughed. There was a group of young men who passed by every day. Expensive cars. Loud laughter. Windows down. "Look, the candy boy again. Working early, huh, businessman. Soon he'll buy the whole building." They laughed. Miguel smiled back. Not because he agreed, but because he didn't want to carry any more weight inside his chest. When the light turned green, he returned to the sidewalk and sat on the curb, watching the city rush by as if it were always late for something he didn't even know the name of yet. He lived with his mother in a small back room behind a borrowed house. His father had left when Miguel was 6, leaving only silence and unpaid bills. His mother worked as a cleaner. Miguel had dropped out of school in his second year of high school to help with the expenses. Not because he wanted to, but because the refrigerator didn't know how to wait. That morning, he counted the coins. Enough to pay for the gas. Not the rent. He took a deep breath. The city felt too big for a boy who felt too small. But he stood up again. And when the next light turned red, Miguel walked back into the street. That night, it rained. Water dripped into a bucket in the middle of the room. Miguel's mother sat on the edge of the bed, holding the electricity bill. "Son, I don't know what else to do." Miguel swallowed hard. He wanted to be strong. But no one teaches a boy how to carry an entire home inside his chest. "We'll find a way, Mom." She smiled, but it was a broken smile. That night, Miguel didn't sleep. He thought about everything. The school he had left. The dreams he never had time to dream. The boys laughing in their cars. And for the first time, a question escaped him in silence. Is my life going to be just this? The next morning, he returned to the traffic light. But something was different. A man stopped his car, got out, bought all the candy, and said, "Never be ashamed of honest work. The world tests those who have courage." Miguel kept those words as if he were putting a light in his pocket. That day, he sold everything. That week, he began waking up earlier, buying more candy, covering more intersections. The laughter continued. But inside him, something had changed. It wasn't hope yet. It was simply resistance. Cuando quiser, seguimos calm. Miguel's body gave in before his will did. The fever came on a Wednesday night. First light. Then heavy as concrete. Thursday morning, he tried to stand. His legs failed. The floor came too fast. His mother found him unconscious in the bathroom. Public hospital. Crowded hallway. Chairs filled with pains no one could see. The doctor spoke of dehydration, untreated infection, exhaustion. "He needs to stop," said the man in the white coat. "Or the body will stop for him." But stop how? Without Miguel, there was no gas. Without gas, there was no food. Without food, there was no tomorrow. 3 days later, he was back at the traffic light. Thinner. Weaker. But standing. At the same intersection, the laughter returned. "What, not dead yet, candy boy?" Miguel felt his throat burn. But he kept walking. That afternoon, the world felt too heavy. When he got home, he found his mother sitting, crying quietly. The owner of the house had asked for the room back. They had 30 days. 30. Miguel walked out into the street without knowing where to go. He wandered until night fell. He sat on a park bench and cried like a child. For the first time, he thought about giving up. But then, he remembered the man from the car. The world tests those who have courage. And he stayed. Miguel began to observe everything. Where people bought more. Which hours were better. What caught attention. He built a small wooden shelf. Organized the candy. Put up a sign. I work to help my mother. Thank you for your support. Sales doubled. It wasn't a miracle. It was consistency. Months passed. Miguel saved enough to rent a small, simple room. When he handed the key to his mother, she hugged him as if the world had finally returned to its place. He went back to school at night. He arrived exhausted, but he arrived. The boys in the cars kept laughing. But now, Miguel no longer heard them. He had a plan. Time passed, but not easily. Miguel was now 23. The boy from the traffic light had become the man of the corners, of scribbled spreadsheets, of schedules no one saw. In the mornings he sold candy. In the afternoons he helped at a small grocery store for a few dollars. At night he studied. He slept little. He dreamed even less. His mother said he needed to rest. He said he needed to win. There were days when the body screamed louder than faith. There were nights when Miguel lay on the floor of his room, staring at the ceiling, asking in silence if all that effort would be worth it. During that time, he lost friends. He lost parties. He lost the chance to be young like the others. But he gained something invisible, structure on the inside. One morning, while restocking his candy box, a man approached. Are you the guy who's always here? Miguel nodded. I need someone trustworthy to work with me. I'm opening a small convenience store. Miguel felt his heart beat differently. He accepted. That's where he learned about suppliers, profits, rent, inventory, mistakes, losses, decisions. That's where he began to dream higher. At 30, Miguel opened his own store. Small, simple, but his. The same intersection of the traffic light was now seen from behind the glass of his storefront. And one afternoon, the same young men passed by. They looked. They recognized him. Isn't that the candy boy? Miguel smiled. No resentment. No anger. Only peace. With time came the second store. Then the third. Miguel studied business administration. He invested. He failed. He lost. He began again. Until one day, years later, the real estate agent handed him the keys. The building. The same building they once laughed about. Miguel held those keys like someone holding an entire lifetime. That night, he went back to the intersection. He stood there, watching the traffic light, and whispered, I made it, Mom. Cuando quiser, seguimos para. The building still smelled of fresh paint. Miguel walked slowly through the corridors, touching the walls as if confirming that it was real. Each step echoed not only in the concrete, but inside his memory. That late afternoon, the doorman said, There's a man asking to speak with you. Miguel went downstairs. The man was sitting on the bench in the lobby, thin, shoulders slumped, worn clothes. When he lifted his face, Miguel felt the floor disappear for a moment. It was his father. The same face. Older. More tired. Full of silence. I heard. His voice failed. I heard you became the owner of all this. Miguel took a deep breath. Years of unanswered questions. Years of pain. Years of absence. I didn't become the owner of everything, he replied. I only became the owner of myself. His father cried. He spoke of wrong choices, of shame, of not knowing how to return. Miguel listened in silence. After everything, he said, I forgive you. And in that instant, something heavy left both of their chests. It didn't change the past, but it freed the future. Months later, Miguel passed by the traffic light again. A boy was there. Candy box hanging from his neck. Worn sneakers. Tired eyes. Miguel stopped the car. He stepped out. He bought everything. And said, "Never be ashamed of your path. It's taking you exactly where you need to become who you must be." The boy smiled. Miguel returned to the car, his heart light. When he arrived at the building, he went up to the rooftop. The sun was setting over the city. He closed his eyes. He thought of his mother, now in a comfortable home. He thought of the boy crying on the park bench. He thought of the laughter that hurt and the courage that was born from it. And he understood. Life doesn't change suddenly. It changes when we decide not to give up. Cuando quiser, seguimos como última parte. The building now had a life of its own. People coming and going, doors opening, footsteps echoing, different dreams filling the floors. Miguel often watched everything from the mezzanine on the second floor, holding a cup of coffee that always went cold before the last sip. That morning, a simple woman, wearing modest clothes and a tired look, asked to speak with him. "They said you sometimes help." Miguel invited her to sit. She spoke of her sick husband, the overdue rent, the son who sold candy at the traffic light. Miguel listened in silence, the same way someone once listened to his own pain. Then he stood, walked to the drawer, and took out an envelope. "This isn't charity," he said. "It's continuity." Months later, that woman's son began working in one of the shops in the building. Years later, he opened his own. Miguel watched it all as someone who sees life complete its circles. One calm afternoon, he returned to the intersection. The traffic light turned red. Miguel stood there, watching. He smiled. Not at the past, but at the future. Because now he knew. The boy at the traffic light was never small. He was only at the beginning. With that certainty, he walked back home, carrying the peace of someone who finally understands that his own story can become shelter for other stories. If this story touched you somewhere deep inside, maybe it can also touch someone you love. Subscribe to the channel. Write in the comments what you felt, or if you recognized yourself in any part of this journey. And, if you can, share this story with someone who is struggling in silence. Because no one wins alone. And there is always a new light waiting for those who choose to continue.